Hello everyone, and welcome to Wheelabout's Tutorial Zoo Workshop. I'm Wheelabout, and I'll be your host through this series of videos where I'll show you how to make a decent looking park. I've created a series of handouts that I'd like everyone to take a look at. We're going to be going through some steps, and I want you to be able to follow along. Please take a look at the description of this video to see that handout. Let's go ahead and get started. On today's episode, we're going to be working on the zoo entrance guide. The first step of the guide is pathways. We're going to want to try to imagine how our zoo branches out into the different areas. We're also going to want to determine an entrance theme. I'm currently in the tropical map, so I think I'm going to do South America. We're going to want to think about a centerpiece or something to tie in together the entrance. We'll probably end up doing a waterfall or some sort of sign here in the center. Let's go ahead and get started with laying out our pathways so that we can get a better idea of what it's really going to look like when we're done. Alright, so this is the path that we came up with. I'm not too happy with it, but we're going to see what we can do to make this work. Now, a couple things I'd like to point out is make sure that you do have a picnic area right in the front. It does add a little bit of realism. If you don't want one, you don't need to add one. Also leave some open spaces. That way you can put some decorations in there, maybe some education boards, some trees. Just leave it a little open to fill it in a little nicer. The next step in the process is going to be placement. We're going to be placing some shops here. So we're going to take a look at some of the blueprints that we already have. I already went shopping on the Steam Workshop to find a couple things that I think would fit nicely with this zoo. But I would like to remind everyone that getting blueprints off of the workshop is completely okay. It's an easy way for you to finish your zoo. You're still detailing and you're still doing work. So let's go ahead and dive in and get those blueprints in here. So this is what we came up with. We got a couple of buildings here. This is going to be an information shop and just a memento. On this side we got a chief beef and a gold beef soda. We got our restrooms right next to the picnic area. The next step in the process is going to be landscaping. I created some plant palettes so you have an idea of what plants we're going to be using for this entrance. Today we're going to be using the Amazon Rainforest palette. I'll put a link in the description of this video so that you know what that palette looks like. Let's go ahead and get started with tree placement. Alright, so the trees are in place. I got a little ahead of myself and I started doing bushes. The next thing we want to do is we're going to want to put down some rocks. So go ahead and bring out the rocks that you want to use and start laying them around. I'm going to be using mossy rocks. Alright, as you can see here, I just put down a whole bunch of plants, trees, and rocks. This is going to be our base for the jungle. We still have to put a few more other plants. We got some plants here at the front, just thinking about our centerpiece, what we're going to be doing there. When we do a centerpiece, we do want to think about a frame, something that we're going to put around it. So I'm not sure what we're going to do just yet, but this is already in place for whatever it is that we do. If you guys saw in that clip earlier, we are filling this up pretty dense over here, and that's just to avoid these views of these plains. We want it to look like you're in the center of the jungle. So let's go ahead and get some more plants in here and make it look a little denser. Alright, so most of the plants are done. Before I move on to putting out the rest of the plants, I did want to go over a little bit of my thought process behind how I select where I place my plants. Usually the first thing that I do is I try to enclose an area. As you can see here, I have a ring that kind of encloses this front entrance. I do the same thing over here. To make it look so that it does not look like a ring, I start adding things in the center. One trick that I've learned is to make a 3D wall. So block it in the front and then block it in the back. This adds a little bit of depth. Let's go ahead and keep adding the plants. Okay, so a little bit more about plant placement. What I try to do is I always try to keep my plants in bunches. I also try to hide my flowers. I try not to put too many of them out there. I like my color to be a little bit hidden within the bushes. I typically only put plants around rocks or trees. I try to think of places where the seeds would get stuck. And that's generally where I place my plants. So now that we have the plants down, let's go ahead and get a centerpiece going. Alright folks, and we got our centerpiece. One of the tips that I have for creating a centerpiece, or any sort of sign really, is don't be afraid to play with the pieces. I always filter by theme, and I just start throwing things on there until it starts making sense. I find that the pieces really work well with each other, so if you just start playing with them, you'll find something that you like. Alright folks, well that's going to do it for today's episode. The next episode is going to focus on habitat building. I hope you enjoyed today's video and have a great rest of your day.